Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Go to my cheat sheet for today's MLB main slate for today on DraftKings or tomorrow, just depends whenever you're listening to this. Anyway, before we continue, if you could leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can get a notification whenever these videos drop. I'd really appreciate that. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPinell16. And if you want access to my cheat sheet, my MLB model with projections, all that good stuff, all in one database, hit the link in the description below. It'll take you to my Patreon, and if you want access to it, it's right there. It's pretty self-explanatory, so that will be in the link in the description below. And I forgot if I mentioned Slack chat, but we talk in Slack chat all day, so all that is available on Patreon. And anyway, let's get into this main slate, and hopefully with these pitchers, we don't have another repeat of Merrill Kelly. Trust me, I played him too, and it sucked because I had him on my Cincy stacks, and I had him on Angels, Padres, which absolutely sucks. Padres had a really nice start. Tatis hit a home run on the first pitch, and then Reyes hit a home run on his first pitch. The Dodgers, they're absolutely bombing right now. 0 runs last time I looked. Maybe they did something past a few minutes since I started, but the Rockies are doing fine. 6-0 Rockies right now. Angels haven't done much. I know Trout got a base hit, but nothing special yet, but it's still the third inning, so hopefully we can get some offense going so far. The only one doing anything for me right now is the Reds lefties, and that was nice because they were good value options. But anyway, that slate doesn't pertain to this. Let's get into this slate. Now we'll give a little preview of the pitching sheet as well. It's something you would get on Patreon. And I also do like a model update as well throughout the day because, things change. Like a lot of things changed today. Jordan Lyles got traded, which was an even better boost for the Reds lefties. And then David Hess got announced the starter for the Padres, which put me more on the Padres righties. I already liked the Padres righties, and then they got into an even better spot versus a reverse splits pitcher in Hess. So there's some things available over there. And anyway, let's get into this. So Noah Syndergaard is my preferred spend up at 10,300. He looks like the top pitching option today versus strikeout happy White Sox team versus right-handed pitching with a 26% K rate. So let's just take a quick look at the pitching sheet, just a little preview of what this looks like. It's an all-in-one database. It's to help you not have to go through 30 tabs to look at splits for everything. It's got all the splits here. It's got Vegas when that comes out. All that got projections. So all that good stuff. So Noah Syndergaard at 10-3, he's got good numbers. He's coming in hot the past 3 games. Well, he didn't have the best game the last game out versus the Padres. I know he gave up 4 runs, I believe, but he did have a good amount of strikeouts, and he had 2 good games before that. So decent hot streak. But good numbers all around. 404 xFIP, which means he's getting a little bit unlucky compared to his 4.3 ERA. xFIP is a better indicator of what his ERA should actually be. Low walk rate, decent strikeout rate, not the best, but 23% is respectable at least. Doesn't give up a lot of hard contact at all. Second best on the slate after Yu Darvish. And if you just look at the matchup, which is the real reason why I like Noah Syndergaard today, the White Sox are pretty darn bad versus righties, as you can see. 26% K rate, 149 ISO, 299 WOBA, 88 WRC plus. So they are not very good. I think Syndergaard can rack up the strikeouts here. He's got double-digit K upside here. I'm not saying he's gonna get it, but I think he can land anywhere from 7 to 10 strikeouts and maybe give up a run. And I think he can have a really good game and get the win here. So I really like Noah Syndergaard tomorrow. I expect him to probably be the highest owned ace of the slate. Yeah, I guess Justin Verlander, I might be a little biased, but I don't like picking on the Indians, especially recently for how good they've been. Then Shane Bieber, I just don't like picking on the Astros, and Charlie Morton against the Red Sox. So I don't think any of those guys really make a lot of sense. So I think everyone's going to flock to Syndergaard, rightly so, which is what I'm going to do. And then let's talk about Griffin Canning. He is my preferred SP2. I like this price he's at too. So 7,900, and it's pretty much a rule of law in DFS to play righties versus Detroit, as they are bottom of the barrel in all categories versus right-handed pitching pretty much. And right now, Jaime Barrios is having a pretty good game. I know it's only the 3rd inning, but he gave up a solo home run to Miggy. But besides that, he's having a pretty good game. So, Griffin Canning's a better pitcher than Barria, in my opinion. Canning does have not the best numbers. I believe his xFIP is, if I can find it, 4.83. His ERA is in the 5s, but xFIP is at 4.83, which isn't awful. It's not good, but the thing we like here is the 25% K rate. Now, he does give up a lot of fly balls. That's his problem. He does give up some power. Over a 200 ISO to lefties and righties, as you can see here. A little bit worse versus lefties, but you got a 24% K rate to lefties, 26% to righties, and he should see slightly more righties, which is, I guess it's good because, better numbers overall versus righties. But this is going to be bothering me if I don't fix that. Gotta drag that down just so we get this Woba there. Just 1 second. Okay, got that now. Alright, and then, yeah, if you're just looking at his numbers, it's not the worst. I just like the strikeout upside here versus Detroit. If we look at their splits versus righties, it's not very good whatsoever. If I can get over there. I got a lot of stuff on here, as you can tell. So if I can find, yeah, 27% K rate to righties, just lowest team MOBA on the slate. Actually, no, the Odorizzi is going against, I can't remember. Can't remember off the top of my head, but I can tell you in a second. But they got the lowest WRC plus, one of the lowest team ISO. So Griffin Canning makes a lot of sense at SP2. And who's Odorizzi? Oh, yeah, Odorizzi is going against the Marlins, which I don't want to talk about the Marlins right now. They made me very upset tonight what they did to Merrill Kelly, which really sucked. But yeah, anyway, Griffin Canning is my preferred SP2. He's at a really nice price point, and he's a very heavy favorite. I was looking at some other Vegas odd websites, and I believe he's at I think it's negative 215 at the moment, so he's looking like a good bet to get the win, have a decent game, and a good guy to pair with Noah Syndergaard. And we have enough value on the slate to do that. It's only about 18K salary, so it's not going to break the bank. And then David Price, if we want to get a little weird, he would be more of a GBP pivot off of Syndergaard, because I think we're going to need Canning at SP2, because I don't want to spend that much on pitching, because it's still a Coors Field slate, and we have the Angels versus Detroit. So David Price, if you want to save a little bit of dough, I think he's a good option instead of Syndergaard as well. I do think he's a little overpriced. If he was in the AK range, I think I would just roll with David Price and Griffin Canning. But I do think there's upside in this matchup as the Rays are striking at a 27% clip to lefties this season. We want to use lefties versus Tampa Bay. And Price has had some decent games versus them. He's had 2 19-point games, and he's had one 31-point game, and then I might have missed one too. But so if we can get a 30-point game, I mean, that's a ceiling game out of him, but that would crush value, and that's assuming Syndergaard's in the 20 to 25-point range. So I don't mind David Price is a nice GBP pivot, and it allows us to get some more expensive bats too. All right, so that's enough about pitching. Let's get into the catcher. I will say I was looking at Drew Smyly as a punt, but I thought it was a little too risky just because it's lefty versus San Francisco, but maybe Drew Smyly as a punt. I'm not saying that's a great play, but as of right now, that's a nice punt option in my opinion, because sometimes he has good K upside, or he gets shelled. So I just don't think San Francisco is that too much of a threat. All right. Anyway, catchers: Will Smith or Russell Martin, whoever's playing. We got a garbage can on the mound in Cal Freeland, and for the Rockies, so we can safely load up on Dodgers righties here in this one. I mean, he's getting hit by lefties too, but he got a decent strikeout rate versus lefties, so I'm going to stay with the righties here, and we got a few good righties on the Dodgers. They're a good lefty team, good team to face. They're a good team facing off versus righties with all their great lefties, but they have quite a few good righties as well, like Justin Turner, Russell Martin, Will Smith, and AJ Pollock. And I'm probably missing someone at the top of my head, but we'll get down the list anyway. Then Tucker Barnhart at 3,100. The Cincy game popped off last night, and they came in, and they're coming in at good values again in the similar matchup versus Musgrove, who struggles with lefties. Now, people might look at Musgrove's price at 5,100 and think that's a good value, and that's what I was thinking too. But then I like these Reds lefties as value, so I don't see myself playing Musgrove. I get the idea of playing him, hoping he gets 10 points. But he struggles with lefties. I like him versus righty-heavy teams. He's got a good strikeout rate versus righties, 25% K rate. When it comes to lefties, he's only at 15%. So I do like the lefties here more than I like Musgrove, and it's not a good park for pitching. So I am siding with the Cincy lefties here. And then Danny Jansen, 2,700. He's got better numbers versus lefties, and Montgomery is nothing special. And we played this guy a lot earlier in the season, but then he started getting priced up in the mid 3K range. Now that he's back in this 2,700 range, I think he's back to being viable. Then at first base, we got Josh Bell at 4,800. So Roark is an easy guy to break down as he struggles heavily with lefties and is really, really tough on righties. Pirates are one of the worst matchups in the league versus for right-handed pitchers, as they are striking out at a league low 19% along with the Angels. So definitely not interested in Roark, and this is a great park for hitting, especially for lefties. And so I do like Josh Bell quite a bit. Then Joey Votto at 3,900. He's too cheap at home in Great American Ballpark versus Musgrove, who's got a 15% K rate to lefties compared to 25% to righties, which I kind of just touched on. And then Anthony Rizzo at 4,500. We went the lefties versus Wainwright, and we went to use Rizzo versus righties. So it's just science, guys. And then at second base, we got Ketel Marte, 5K. I believe he went yard earlier today versus Caleb Smith. He's really good versus lefties. He's got an ISO over 300 versus them this season, and Happ is allowing a lot of hard contact and power 2 righties. I can see this being a pretty high-scoring game. I'm more on the Yankees side, but they're just so expensive. And the D-backs are expensive too, so it's going to be hard to get exposure to that game, but I think it's a good GPP game because I can't imagine much people are going to be on it with the Dodgers and the Angels in good matchups. And then we have Rougned Odor at 4,100. Feels like we haven't had a game in Texas in a while, but we are back home in a great matchup versus Mike Leake. And we all know how bad Mike Leake is versus righties and lefties. Although I wish Joey Gallo was playing because he would be a top play for me, but he's not. So, and then Scooter Gennett, 3,300. He had a good game tonight. I usually rag on the guy because I play him a lot and he doesn't do much, but he had a good game tonight. Got value for sure. And same thing every day with these Reds lefties. They're just way too cheap facing a righty in a great park for hitting. Then at third base, we got Justin Turner at 5,400. It's the righties you want the Dodgers from, and Turner leads the way for me with how good he is versus lefties. From all the Dodgers, he's probably the best play. I shouldn't say probably. I think he is. Although that price is what kind of puts me away from him because I would much rather try to make Trout a core play, but I don't mind him if you're stacking up the Dodgers. And then Nolan Arenado at 5K. It's crazy how many good hitting options there is on this slate, and it's just insane that Arenado facing lefty in cores isn't my favorite play of the slate, because it's not. But he's still viable in all formats, and because we know how good he is versus lefties. Although I will say Urias, I always forget how to say that, has actually been a little tough on righties. But I'm going to give the advantage to Nolan Arenado, obviously, but that's just something to think about. Then Josh Van Meter, I'm telling you guys, I love this guy. He just keeps producing versus righties, and said it again, I'll say it yesterday. We're going to keep playing him until DK prices him correctly. This is one of the guys we're going to hop on and ride him until DK prices him up. We've rode guys like Danny Jansen when he was too cheap, Stevie Wilkerson when he was too cheap. Can't remember who else, but we've been riding a few guys. Oh, Max Kepler before he got expensive. So these kind of guys, we just ride them until they get too expensive. It's like stocks. You want to buy low, then when they get to their high price tag, we're going to, we sell them. So Josh Van Meter again, I am very interested in. And then shortstop, we got Trevor Story, 5,300. Story and Arenado are always fantastic plays when facing lefties and cores, but as always, I prefer Arenado having to pick between one for how good Arenado has been versus lefties in this season and career. And Trevor Story's actually been better versus righties this season. But obviously, I still like him. Then Didi Gregorius, 5K. I do like this Yankee stack. The problem is I just can't make them a priority over the Angels and Dodgers, really. But Clark is bad versus both lefties and righties, but it only has a 12% K rate to lefties, is what I should say. I tell you guys I do this once a video, but at least I cash it. Versus lefties. Okay. And then we got JP Crawford if we need some value, which I think we're probably going to at some point here. And he's been very good versus righties this season with an ISO above 200, and he has speed, plus we're in hitter-friendly Texas. And then in the high-end outfield, we got Mike Trout at 5,700. Hopefully he does something soon for me here. He had a single, but I'd need a home run here, so I'd really appreciate that, hopefully. But I have the game on right now. It's on the left. They're on YouTube today if anyone sees this video in time and wants to watch the game. But yeah, anyway, Mike Trout, he's the top play of the slate versus the awful righty and Verhagen from Detroit. He's allowing an ISO over 300 to righties, and the bullpen is awful. I will say we have a small sample from Verhagen, but it's all we got to work with. But Mike Trout crushes righties, so it's not anything too hard to break down. Then Aaron Hicks and Aaron Judge, they're both high 4K. I believe Hicks is 4,900, Judge is 4,800, so obviously I will prefer Judge at the lower price point. But they're both in great spots versus Clark, who is bad versus righties and lefties. Then Ketel Marte, we already talked about. In the mid-range outfield, we got Shohei Ohtani at 4,800. One of my favorite plays today is we get a nice discount from Trout. Nothing against Trout. Obviously, I love him. I just went over that. But Verhagen only has a 10% carry to lefties. So I do love Shohei Ohtani quite a bit tomorrow. Then Bryce Harper at 4,600. We went the lefties against Beatty, whereas K rate dips to around 15% and just overall worse numbers. And then, Barrio just gave up another run. That sucks. But anyway, AJ Pollock at 4,500. Like I've said, we want the righties versus Friedland, and he's at a really nice price point here, so I can see Pollock having quite a bit of ownership tomorrow. Then I have a ton of value options for you. It's like a 14-game slate, so you're going to have to deal with it, but a lot of good value options here. Ian Desmond at 4,300. Always target him versus lefties and cores, and he comes in pretty cheap. Justin Upton, I believe I have him as a core play. His price just dropped quite a bit, and I don't understand why it dropped that much, but I feel like I've played him 6 nights in a row, but these Angels have been having the best pitching matchups as they draw another good one versus Verhagen and Detroit. Yeah, but they've been going against Baltimore, and now they get Detroit, so it's just easy pickings for these bats, and Upton's just way too cheap, especially how good he's been versus righties this season. Michael Conforto, 4,200. Lopez is a much worse pitcher versus lefties, where his K percentage drops quite a bit, and his power increases in terms of giving up power. So it's a good matchup for Conforto for how good he is versus right-handed pitching. I will say Lopez is coming out of the gates on fire. I believe he's had 3 games in a row above 27 points. So maybe a slight concern there, but I do like these Mets lefties. Then Kyle Schwarber at 4,100. Lefties versus Wainwright. I don't know if he's going to lead off. I know he was batting 7th last time he was versus a righty, but he had 2 homers in that game. He had like 7 RBIs, so hopefully they put him in the leadoff spot. Then Jesse Winker at 4K. Lefty leading off versus Musgrove. Cole Calhoun at 4K, just cheap part of the Angel stack versus Verhagen. Then Josh Van Goat, we already talked about. Let's go to some of the core plays and top stacks. I got Syndergaard and Canning as my favorite SP1 and SP2 options, but I also don't mind Price as SP1 either. And then Justin Upton at 3,600. He's just way too cheap in my opinion. And that should be enough salary to let you guys do pretty much a lot of things that you want to do with your lineup. And then the top stacks for me are going to be the Angels versus Detroit, Dodgers versus Freeland, Yankees versus Clark, and the Reds lefties versus Musgrove. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for the video. I feel like that was a really long video, so hopefully you were able to stay with me the whole time. Anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Hit the link in the description below if you want access to all the goodies I have on here. And I wish you guys the best of luck. Remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.